Hello everyone and welcome to Solshow. My name is Sol. As of the time of this recording, it is August 6, 2017, and I just finished my first playthrough of Shadow of the Colossus. So this is going to be kind of a first reaction type thing. And Shadow of the Colossus, for those who don't know, a lot of people watching, I'm sure, do if they are fans of video games. Shadow of the Colossus is one of the biggest video games out there. It was a big deal when it came out, and as years have gone by, it has been, everyone says it's a classic, critically renowned. It's a great game. Everyone says so, and I finally got a chance to play it, and I wanted to make a video about it, considering I just finished it and I have a lot to say about it. And this video probably isn't going to be super edited. I just want to get my thoughts out there while they're still in my head. And to start off, I want to say that this game is as beautiful and as wonderful as people say it is. I can't see many people playing this game all the way through and giving it that low of a score or saying it's that bad. There is a lot of artistic choices made in this game, and there's a lot of video game mechanics that are just so smart and clever and artistic that you can't help but deny that what this game does is beautiful. Just to cover the backstory, in this game you play as Wanderer, and in the opening scene we see him with a dead woman in his arms, and he goes to this temple and speaks to this higher power of some sort, and the higher power speaks to him and says that if he slays these 16 colossi around this forbidden land, that his love will come back to him. And slowly throughout the game we see that there are a lot of implications and a lot of altering side effects to killing these colossi. I'm going to cover spoilers in a minute, but for now, I'm just going to lay out the groundwork. In this game, it's very simple mechanics. You have a sword, you have a bow, and you are just going from boss battle to boss battle. Each boss battle is basically like a whole level in itself. These forbidden lands, you're going to be traveling through them. There's a lot of Easter eggs. You have to find health and stuff like that at your own will. It doesn't hold your hand and tell you anything. There's nothing on screen other than the game itself, and you have a very small health bar in the corner with your stamina and all that. But this game takes itself very seriously on a cinematic scale. When you're just you also have a horse named Agro. She is awesome. Everybody loves her. I can completely see why. She's great. But when you're riding the horse, it goes away, the health bar. So a lot of times you're just left looking at these amazing visuals, and your attention is actually supposed to be on the amazing visuals, and you're supposed to be looking at all the beautiful landscape. And this game came out in 2005 on the PS2, and I don't want to be the guy who's like, oh, the PS2, how could he even hold this game? The PS2, there's a lot of big games on there, but a game like this, which is so beautiful and there are no load times, they did squeeze a lot into this game. I can see why people say that a lot. And going back to this game being cinematic, this is how I think video games should be. This is exactly what I want. There are a couple games that I've talked about since starting this channel that have proven what I want from video games, and this is it. In this game, there are cutscenes, but the cutscenes are probably the least cinematic and least interesting, other than the ending, parts of the whole game. The cutscenes are basically the same cutscene with multiple variations, and it's usually just obvious cameras, and the writing is minimal. But the game from start to finish is fucking cinematic. In this game, you're fighting these 16 colossi. it starts with you usually on the ground looking up at them, and they are these massive fucking creatures that you gotta climb up, and you are slowly learning about them. You really get a sense of their personality. Some of them are just fucking monsters. Some of them really don't seem at all like malevolent creatures. Most of them, if anything, are revealed in this benevolent light. Some of them just have these doughy eyes, and you're supposed to just fucking kill them. And slowly throughout the game, we see our own character slowly looking more malevolent, but not necessarily evil, if that makes sense. He looks deteriorated. And it's getting really hard to talk about this game without going to spoilers, so I'm just going to throw up the spoiler warning now. I love how in this video game we kind of start as your classic video game character. This game, had a lot of Zelda similarities. You riding a horse, you got a bow and sword. There's a beautiful princess-ish girl. And I know there's people watching me play this game who didn't even know what it was, who compared it to Zelda. So there's that. I think all the similarities end there though. But it's a very classic video game thing where you're on a quest, gonna go do some stuff to save the princess, whatever. But we see these creatures who mostly aren't shown to be evil, and we are slowly just killing them, and we see our own character, if anything, start to look more malevolent. And fighting each of these creatures, I had to look up a couple of them, which I hated doing. I got help from a friend on a couple of them, but each one was a puzzle to be solved, and I love that. I love that the game didn't hold my hand. It did every choice it made I agreed with. There was a couple mechanics that weren't great. Some of the Colossi, I was like, they could have given me a break here. With a couple of them, it was really getting frustrating. The camera, I love the camera, don't get me wrong, because it's supposed to try, like I said, look cinematic. It's supposed to be able to capture this giant creature that you're fighting and have you in the frame and try to, let you play that way. But at the same time, the camera is frustrating. Moving around on a horse, just getting spun around, you run into things. There's a bunch of times I'm just riding my horse and there's a cliff right there and I don't see it because the camera's it's back here looking upwards and I can't see shit. So that was a little bit frustrating. On a couple of bosses though, it worked great. The big wind creature in the sky, the one who dove into the sand, that was an amazing boss fight. That was probably one of my favorite Colossi. Just the fact that, you literally do this ultimate stunt of ride a horse, jump onto a winged creature, stab it down until it dies. Great stuff. Was no quick time events. You got to do all of that. And not many games let you do that, especially nowadays. And while I'm talking about the Colossi, I love the first one. He was kind of like a classic feel to him. I remember playing this game way back in the day. My brother had it and he gave up right away. And then I had it for a little bit, but I never really played it. And then I traded this game for a Dragon Ball Z game. I kind of regret that, but at the time I didn't know what this game was. And I also played the first boss randomly with a friend one time. But now I finally finished it. And the first Colossi, he was kind of just the classic example. He was an example boss of how you're supposed to take these things down. I loved him. I love the third dude. He really just went from this evil creature you saw on the ground, and then by the time you scaled his face, it was he had almost this childlike expression. And I think that was the start. He was the first guy I killed. I was like, oh god, I stabbed him, the music stopped, and then it was just sad crumble, and I was like, killing these things morally, that's when it starts to become a question. And by the end of the game, you realize okay, you're doing something that's morally not bad, but there's obviously implications. This isn't a standard video game. I think that's how more video games should be, more stories. They shouldn't draw the line and say, I do enjoy having morals. Morals are the basis of all stories, but I think once we start holding hands and say, this is what we learned today, this is how things should be, I think more stories can benefit from being like this game and just show, don't tell. And I know that's hard to do, but with a video game, you don't have to have a lot of dialogue. So that's one benefit to this being a video game. This story only works as a video game. And like when I try to show people what video games are, when you try to express like what a video game can do, what video games should be, there's not even like, if you look at all the greatest games like Legend of Zelda, Final Fantasy, some of those aren't perfect examples. Skyrim, not a good example even. But if you were to show a normal person and show them maybe like an analysis video of this, I think they would learn, okay, video games can be so much more. And I can't remember the last time I had so much fun just popping into a world at the same time. I just wanted to look at things. I wanted to kill these stupid lizards and gain, my health and stamina bar thing. I wanted to just ride aggro around. I remember I just visited the, kind of decayed corpse of the other Colossi I killed just for the sake of it. And I was talking about the Colossi, so I'll get back to that because there's a couple more I want to talk about. My least favorite one, I think it was the 14th. It was basically another big dog. There was two of them. This one was like a little bit bigger, and it functioned very similarly. And it was basically like a platforming level, but you just had to make this dog thing run into things, and it didn't live up to the standard that the other ones set. My favorite though, that last boss, it was fucking great. You know it's gonna be big, you know it's gonna be fucking epic, and I didn't know what it looked like. I had so many ideas. I kind of thought it would be like something like with hands. I thought it might just be another like the first boss, but maybe just mega size, and you would just be climbing it all day. I was climbing it all day, don't get me wrong, with the last boss, but you ride up to it, and your horse, I thought, died. I thought he was dead. It was so fucking sad. And then you keep going, and he starts shooting fucking lasers at you, or these fireball things. And so it's like a platforming segment to get to him. And then it's a platforming segment just to climb him over and over again. And then the part where you had to like put your sword to his shoulder to see the weak spot, that I thought was a bad decision. Why would I think to do that other than I was like trying to find his weak spots because I couldn't think of anything else to do? And I was like, oh, I guess I'll do it on his shoulder because that's the best viewpoint. And I was like, oh, I'm supposed to do that. But yeah, he was gigantic. He was beautiful. And I watched the video just now by Folding Ideas, and he made a beautiful point about how there's this long moment of pause after your horse just died, all this, and then you're just standing on this thing's hand, and it's just looking at you in like this kind of pause. And I loved like how it was just this big guy standing. Everything about him I liked. I loved his face. I loved like his like epic things going down his arm. He was best final boss I could hope for. And he just had the one weak point, which is fine. I thought he was great. Then there was the ending. The girl came back to life. I did have the ending spoiled to me. I think I was watching like a video about top 10 video game endings, and they didn't do a very good job at like making you able to jump forward. So I like skipped ahead, and I was like, oh shit. I'm not even that worried about getting spoiled to things as much as I was back in the day. And I didn't know the story. I just knew the little baby horn thing. And even that I didn't have context to. I thought she would be pregnant, and then I was like, why isn't she pregnant? So that gives you an idea. I loved how the ending happened. I loved everything about it. I loved just the segment where you're this big monster. You become all these things you destroyed, and it was just such a great ending. The Horn Baby Eco thing, I can't wait to play Eco now, Last Guardian 2, but Eco I'm really excited to play. And I also watched an Easter egg video by Sai, who's been on this channel before, and he showed a bunch of stuff that I thought was cool, like the the horse aggro, he can become a white stallion, he can have that thing, the eco symbol on his forehead, you can ride the hawk. All of that stuff I love knowing that exists, that you can actually try to escape the Forbidden Lands, and then you can eat this forbidden fruit, and I love all of that. I love exploring just like things that you couldn't think to explore. And I love getting rewarded for going above and beyond on a hard mode. I love all of that shit. And I'm getting really rambly here, so I think I should probably cut the video. Shadow of the Colossus, the reason I played this game is just because of, the reception. So I'm sorry if I'm commenting on too much on how other people receive the game. But a lot of creators I respect and enjoy, they adore this game, and so that gave me incentive to try it. And I can easily see why people adore it. I see this game on a lot of top 10 games of all times. It's not quite there for me. It's easily like top 20, top 50 type, maybe not top 10 quite yet. I don't think it speaks to me on a personal level like that, but since starting this channel, it's probably within the top 2 or 3 since I started reviewing. If I were to review this, I don't know if this is a review or not, but if I were to review this, I would give Shadow of the Colossus a 9 out of 10, Soul Badge of Approval, Hall of Fame badge, all of it. I adored this game, I loved it, I really just experienced this game, and I can see why it's so critically acclaimed. This is what video games are. This is what video games should be, and games like this, they set a standard. When games, don't quite get those higher marks, and people ask me like, oh, why didn't this get a 9 or 10? Because video games like this set the standard above and beyond. This game is amazing. Thank you guys so much for watching. I finally got to experience this game I really wanted to play for a long time, so if you had a similar experience or you had a different experience with this game, I want to hear about it in the comments. Let me know. And yeah, if there's anything else, if you want me to play Eco and get on that stat, I can try to do that. And yeah, just thank you for watching. And with that, I leave you.